take me back to that day. Why were you at the mall in the first place?
Yes. It was conferences for these preschool kids, and they had a great conference, and we said, let's go celebrate. There's no school. The older kids are at school, so it was just me and Landon. And then this mom was after me with her little boy, and these two were friends, so we wanted to go celebrate. So we were deciding if we should go to Sky Zone here or Mall of America, to the Crayola factory. And it was kind of a snowy day. I remember it was cold and snowy, and I didn't really feel like going to the Mall of America that day. But when you're in Minnesota and it's not that far, and you have these little boys who are so excited, it's a place you want to go. It's fun. So I let their excitement persuade me. But I do feel like I had a feeling that I have never felt, that I was like pushed back on it quite a few times. It's just like one of those nudges that you feel, but you don't always listen to because everyone else around you isn't feeling it.
And also you're like, Mall of America,
Sky
kind of
Zone.
always feel that way about Mall of America, right? It's
Yes.
like big, it's chaotic, so I can see why you'd override it and just be like, all right, well, I'm just not in the mood to deal with Mall of America today.
Yes. But we did go there a lot, and I always parked in the same spot and just walked into that. We were only going to that one area. You know, we weren't going to do the rides and all of that day, just that one thing. So I thought, okay, let's just go do it. But driving into that ramp, I got an overwhelming sense of something is wrong, pray.
And then you go in and you go up to Rainforest Cafe, big hit with the kids. So much to look at, so much to see.
Yeah, and they're off, and they're showed such a big distraction. You know, I felt it enough to pray. I prayed for angels to protect us as we walked, and just for safety, and I just kind of mumbled it as we walked. What I don't know is when we got up there, they were so excited, and they were on that rock at the Rainforest Cafe, and we were looking at that elevator to get opened, and I was talking to that other mom, and this man came up, and he leaned over with the little boys, and he was whispering to them. And I thought, that's strange. He must work here. I bet he's going to turn it on because it wasn't open yet. So I stood next to him, and I said, are you going to turn the alligator on? And he just looked at me like, no, and then kind of smiled. And then I said, do you not want us here? Because there was a big sign that said, please don't step on the rock. And the kids were stepping on the rock. And he said, oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. So then I stepped back, and 2 seconds later, he grabbed Landon and ran.
I did not realize you had that much interaction with him.
Yes.
And seemingly warm, normal, no way to tell anything was
No,
wrong.
he was leaning over, whispering to the boys. What I thought that was odd, but I thought he worked there. What I learned later was the other mom told me that when she was driving to the hospital after with her little boy, he was whispering to them, if you don't get off this rock, I'm going to throw you over the edge. And the boys were giggling, like, what?
Yeah.
And that's what he was saying, apparently. Landon doesn't remember that, but the other little boy does.
I find it so odd that you could have this interaction and just seeing by the person you are and how warm you are and kind, and there's maybe even a smile exchanged between the two of you.
Yes. That's how I felt. That's what I said right away, is he looked very nice, had a smile.
I mean, obviously there's no explaining it, right? I mean, there's no way any of it, even if you screamed and yelled, there's no way to make sense of it, but that makes it seem so much more
like I trusted him. I didn't. Of course, you know, and any mom walking through a mall with their little boy isn't thinking, oh, somebody's gonna take him right in front of me. Nobody's, you know, you just don't think that.
Right, of all the
We're
things
thinking
you worry
of
about.
going into the Crayola factory and is the alligator on yet? That's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking, is he gonna take my son right in front of me? Nobody is thinking that. You just don't until it happened.
Yeah.
And then even when it happened, it was like, you can't move. You're just stuck. He threw him so fast, and I remember he fell on the ground and his feet were going like this, like trying to get it back up after he had thrown him. And I thought, I mean, after the fact, I thought I should have kicked him or something, but I didn't. I ran to Landon. I knew where been there enough times that I knew where the escalator was, that I flew down those. I got to Landon first. I was fast, screaming the entire time. And there's 2 nurses that were on the 2nd floor who heard me yell that somebody just threw my baby. And they got there right after me and gave Landon CPR, and they kept saying different things like, we got a heartbeat. And I would say, yes, we got a heartbeat. I just was totally focused on Landon. That was it. More people started coming, and there was, you know, all the way up, you can see everybody started coming to the edge. And everybody was staring, and Landon was just laying there. But I just believed right that second that God was going to save him. I said, no, the devil is not going to take his life. He is going to live. And I was focused, and I kept that. And I looked up, and everybody was staring, and I said, pray, just pray. You have to pray. What are you looking at? And I heard people pray, and I saw this man on the second floor, and he looked at me like this, like, I got you. And I don't know if he was real or not real, an angel. I don't know what he was, but he told me,
Yeah.
I got you.
So you could hear people on the levels, like praying out loud.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
I have to. So when that man threw him, he fell. The man fell too.
Yes. I remember his feet trying to get up, but I just took off.
Well, so I was talking to my girls about the fact we were coming to talk today, and my oldest said, I can't imagine trying to get to him.
Yes.
Right? Because then you have this incredible distance all of a sudden, and
Yes.
there's your baby.
But I feel like I got there in a second. Like I remember I knew where I was. So I was able to get down there, but I don't think I didn't ride him. I feel like I jumped the whole thing. You know, when your body is just in a different place.
Do you remember what was going through your head? I mean, I don't even know how you could compute what just happened, because it doesn't make sense. Even 3 years later, it doesn't make sense, right? It's so outrageous that you think that could not have just happened.
Yes. I mean, I wasn't thinking what just happened. I was thinking save Landon. I felt like I grew up in a very charismatic Christian church, so I knew the attack of the enemy, and I felt like the devil was attacking us. And I rebuked him immediately and didn't get off that.
Well, and that was evil personified.
Yes. That's how I felt. This man, who knows where he came from or what life, he didn't have anything against us. He didn't have anything against Landon. He doesn't care about, you know, he wasn't attacking us necessarily. He was mad at something else, which has nothing to do with us. And I felt like it was an attack of the devil. So I immediately rebuked the devil, said, no, Landon is living. I ran downstairs and I just stayed there. Yes, we got a heartbeat. Yes, we got a breath.
So when you come upon your son, who's fallen about 40 feet, that had to be a horrific
I don't
sight.
remember what he looked like at all. I know I picked him up, and there was one woman down there who also happened to be a nurse, and she yelled, put him down. Like, you can't pick him up, I guess.
Yeah, but that's your instinct, right? As a mom, you're just like...
I went and grabbed him, and she said, put him down. And then those other nurses came, and one nurse started working on him, and the other one kind of took me so I would get out of the way. I remember that, and I just she kept saying, what do you need? And I'm like, I need Landon to live. I need Landon. We're staying alive. Pray, pray, pray.
Do you know who those nurses are? Have you ever had contact with them since?
The father of one of the nurses was very touched by this story and wrote me a letter right away in the hospital. And lots of people wrote letters that we kept in shoe boxes, and I had family members opening and reading, but I could not myself read any of those. This one, though, they brought me to the hospital and said, you have to read this, because this is the father of the nurse who saved your sons.
And what did it say?
It just said, oh, I have to tell this story because people need to hear this. And she didn't just happen to be there. God placed her there.
And so
she worked at Children's Hospital on a different floor, and I could have met her any day, but I didn't want to because it was too hard. I didn't know if he was, dead at any point.
Yeah.
I didn't want to know.
Yeah. Yeah, you can only take in so much.
No.
Your whole, I'm sure, nervous system, everything was just...
I stayed in that zone, and I was so strong, but I didn't want to read any letters from anybody. I didn't want to know what this man's name was. I didn't want to know if he was sentenced. I didn't want to know anything besides healing Landon was my focus, and that was it.
Yeah, and I mean, anyone who's a mom just was gutted by this story. So I'm sure you got boxes and boxes of letters, because we got, anytime there was an update on Landon on our social media or whatever, I mean, the comments and the prayers and I mean, it's like,
I know.
It's overwhelming how much support you had. And so this father, the nurse that wrote you the letters, because he said, you need to tell your story because of your faith and what God did here.
Yes. That his daughter was placed there to help us keep Landon alive, and that God is real and miracles do happen, and anybody has access to this power. If you just, I didn't even know it. I grew up in a church, and I know that everybody has access to this power, but I didn't know I could use it the way that I used it.
And that you would use it in that moment, right?
No
like,
clue.
Did you ever think you'd be saying out loud the things you were saying? And
Never.
Did you feel God in that moment?
Oh, that's how I knew. I was overwhelmed with whatever came out of my mouth isn't even me. I've never publicly prayed and spoke that the way I was. I just knew it was a spiritual battle that I had to fight, and this was the only way that I was going to win it. This wasn't man.
So what do you remember about those? He gets to the hospital and they tell you what?
Well, he got in the ambulance, and I got in there too, and they said, we need you to get out because I think I was too loud with praying. And so they put me in the cop car behind, but they did tell me that he opened his eyes right when they were about to shut the door just to say, I'm okay. So I knew that. And then we got there, and of course there was media and everybody all over, so the police officers and they were so nice. They like shut the garage doors, they got us away. We went straight into the surgery room, where again, doctors will tell you this, usually there's these different people on call, you know, like the brain doctor and the bone doctor. They're not all just there, they get on call. They all happened to be there. They all got the call, they were all ready right when we pulled in. Each person did their part on his body while I stood on a chair and again prayed over that whole room, watching them work on him. And that just flowed. I'm just not a person who usually acts like that or talks like that. And it was in me, and it came out when I needed it. I was praying for the surgeon's hands just to do exactly what they needed to do, and that Landon was going to live and not die, and everybody's here to help, and the devil can leave because I'm winning this battle with God. And speaking in tongues, I grew up in a church that spoke in tongues. When you don't know what to pray, you just pray. I stood on a chair and just did that, and then I wheeled all the way. They wheeled him out of the hospital room. My mom and dad and brother were there. I don't think my husband was there yet. And I fell to the floor and I said, I forgive him. I forgave that man because I felt like I needed to remove him from my brain so that God had the space that he needed through me to heal Landon.
Wow, you forgave him?
Immediately. I'll never forget it, because I knew that I was taught that my whole life. I knew that if I was full of hatred and I hated this man and full of all this, I wouldn't be able to access what I was accessing. I felt it. The Holy Spirit was just in me, and I knew he was going to be okay.
Wow, that's extraordinary. Has that been a process, though? Because I would imagine then Landon does come out of the hospital, and when you think about that man, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't. He has nothing to do with us. I really don't. He can live his life in jail and know what he did and know what we did. And I don't get to judge him. God gets to judge him.